In the past week and a half, we've been biased towards a downside break here for Bitcoin. Now Bitcoin has headed below $100,000 for the first time in over a month now. And that was based off of several things on the higher term timeframes, momentum oscillators in specific, and also a couple of setups. And also, of course, this break of the long-term trend line for the price action pivots indicator, which actually happened in the middle of June. And that one finally seen the follow through. And also we brought up this setup here early this past week, looking at the interaction between the red moving average and the yellow moving average. And anytime that we see the cross under of the red below the yellow, there has been at minimum a correction down to that green moving average extremely often. If we were to put this into a strategy tester, it would have been 66% of the time, which actually closes profitably. Of course, overall, it will happen extremely high probability, about 80% if we look at the daily as well, which I won't bring up on this particular video. But yes, now that Bitcoin has hit a major level like this, alongside, now that I recognize it, the 3-week time frame, which did bounce off of the red 5 EMA right here, it does look like Bitcoin is setting up to open up this week with a bit of a bounce. But does that change the overall picture, or where does the overall picture change is probably a better question. And I think for that, we should go over here to the meta signals, because they did just fire off another setup for the 2-hour time frame. This one firing off at about $101,000 even. So right now it's nearly $1,000 in profit. And this is actually having an extremely high win rate for hitting target number one at just under 85% of the time, hitting target number one for this setup. And target number one is 102,200. Now, obviously I'm recording this video a little bit late, so you've probably seen the majority of this move. Target number two, however, is a much lower probability at just above 58 and a quarter. And that target would be 104,000 almost even. Target number three is the moonshot right there. That's the, I guess, just full on fucking bull market back on and time to get balls to the wall bullish, I guess. That one, a much lower probability than all the other targets. That's a 34% probability, or just over a 34% probability that we see that one hit. And again, that is 109,250. Pretty fucking crazy one right there. But yes, it does look like target number one will fall within another one of these wins. And target number two, I guess potential there as well. So let's go down into the lower term timeframes and reference the price action pivots indicator and see where the most recent price action pivots is. And that is right here at 104, actually, directly in alignment with that green 55 EMA. And I would be saying that, hey, look, if Bitcoin got around there, that's probably a good place to arrest this rally. Obviously, Bitcoin's already hit the first target. So if you're very, very aggressive, then that's probably good enough for you as well. Now that I recognize that there's actually even a bit of a formation going on here as well, but I won't draw it out. We've had enough of the pattern bros for now. We're going to put it to rest for a little bit, but perhaps we bring it back a little bit later. Anyways, my point is that if you are looking for the next sort of high on this move, I do think that this current high at 102 is probably a little bit too early. I do think that this move does have a little bit more juice to go, I suppose, a little bit higher. If we go and check out our momentum oscillators on the lower term timeframes, we can see that 4-hour timeframe is now once again positioned to the upside. This is a volatility contraction play, though, as you do see volatility come down alongside that. But hey, you can get decent bounces on these plays for sure. That remains with upside pressure as long as Bitcoin's closing 4-hour dildos above $100,000 even. 6-hour timeframe building upon that is also freshly crossing up, shows upside momentum above nearly the same pivot, or actually a little bit higher, 100,850 if you want to be super exact. And the 12-hour timeframe, I imagine, is also going to have a chance to cross the upside on the next closure, assuming Bitcoin can remain above 100,800. So, in the short term, does Bitcoin play at a bit of a bounce here? Probably yes. I would kind of cut this one to the middle and say maybe somewhere around very low 103,000 US dollar, perhaps is likely to see on this bounce. But again, it is still an overall downtrend, and the trend is your friend if you just let it be. If you fight it, then you're fucked, and that's just that. I don't make the rules. I'm sorry. Anyways, my point is that yes, Bitcoin likely to open up the week on a bounce, maybe as much as like 104, maybe a little bit less, so like 103. If you're super aggressively bearish, then I guess you probably have already seen the local high at 102. I'm not of that opinion personally. I think that this is going to get drawn out for a little while longer, and we probably don't even get any real moves until the U.S. markets open up a little bit later. But as far as the higher term timeframes go, very little's changed here, to be fair. And I do express concern for a move lower. In fact, I'm going to release a video later today with Big Ched's, really cool guy, by the way. Really enjoyed speaking with him. He's very prolific on Twitter, less so on YouTube. But yeah, we're going to be talking about, I guess, more hypotheticals as to where this move likely takes us. But as far as the higher term timeframes go, referencing stochastic momentum here, it's still healthily to the downside. I mean, if you're bearish, I guess that one is pivoted at 103,550. The 2-day time frame is also coming down hard below 105.3. The 3-day time frame is also coming down below 106.5. The 5-day time frame is also coming down below 107.400. The weekly time frame, which just closed last night, is also going to be coming down below 110 effectively. The 10-day time frame is also going to freshly cross the downside of the next closure, which isn't happening for another 5.5 days, but that will happen assuming Bitcoin's still below 103.250. And maybe we go to the 2-week. The 2-week is still positioned to the upside. This one just closed last night. That one is pivoted at 96,800. So, is it impossible for Bitcoin to regain its mojo here? No, obviously not. Like, nothing's impossible, but has a lot of work to do. So what exact price level would I say, hey, this is no longer bearish, I'm bullish, this thing's going to go back to, all-time highs and above and beyond? For me, this would still be above last Friday's breakdown. Last Friday's high, which was the breakdown out of this overall pattern. So I do look at that as still very much relevant, and as long as Bitcoin's below there, it is still just lower highs along the way. You got high, you got low, you got lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, higher high, but lower low, and then lower high, and then lower low again. So again, when you do get a higher high without a higher low, then that is ripe conditions for a nice trap / fake out, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But yeah, that would be my line in the sand for saying, hey, should be bullish on Bitcoin. Actually coming in at the direct intersection of this cross from these going on right here. That's actually super interesting. I wonder if that will hold weight. These damn price action pivots are making my mind go crazy. But crazy with good things, I guess. But yeah, anyways. Keep in mind, though, we still do have targets overall lower, so that is why I still remain more biased towards the downside after a bit of a bounce here. Not only the stochastic momentum on those higher term timeframes still, problematic here, but if we were to look at the break of this 5-day channel, which is almost undoubtedly going to happen, this one is still pointed a little bit lower than where we currently see in Bitcoin. Sorry, let me actually do this properly here. There we go. That one's pointed a little bit closer to $96,000, and I would be looking at that as the next sort of relevant region for, potentially playing a bounce, maybe even the next major low, or perhaps macro low if Bitcoin does come down around there. Again, just because Bitcoin does come down below $100,000 isn't necessarily like long-term macro bearish just yet. Bitcoin, at least I have to treat this as still most likely to put in a higher low on the higher term timeframes, especially as long as it's above, for fuck's sake, like 85 to 90,000 bucks. But that could be a very, very painful move for many people, especially the altcoin enjoyers of the world, because shit, man, altcoins already jumped off the cliff and Bitcoin barely sneezed. Guess what happens if Bitcoin goes down to like mid or low 90s? I don't know. They fucking neck again, I guess. But yeah, this area right here, $96,000 is going to be an area of interest, and of course below there you got about 88 to 90,000 bucks as major areas of interest here for Bitcoin. If it does get there, at least looking at bounces and perhaps even reversals. If you do want to be bullish, that's kind of where it makes most sense to me. Now, looking at the monthly time frame, I do want to acknowledge that the monthly, which is closing relatively soon, you could effectively look at this as a test towards that red 5 EMA, which would be a reconnect if Bitcoin actually does rally up by end of month. But we'll see. Only time will tell on this one, and that's going to really that's really going to help me create a bias coming into July, whether I think Bitcoin's going to be, whether the low's already in, or whether I do think that there's a deeper retracement inbound. But yeah, as of right now, short-term bounce, and that bounce could materialize into a real reversal. But again, my conditions for that are very much set here at 106,500. As long as Bitcoin's below there, I'm just treating this as another lower high, getting ready for another push lower, maybe later on. I think that this can take some time to kind of shake itself out here. It's not uncharacteristic of Bitcoin to just be really, really, really mind-numbingly boring during these sort of major reversals, or potential reversals, I suppose. Anyways, we'll end on this last thing. I do want to, where's my damn HPDR? There we go, my favorite indicator. And HPDR here, I do want to, acknowledge that the weekly did close below the median for the first time since the rally really got underway in mid to late April. So that to me is again a short-term change of behavior. And while it could easily have a rally up here, I do think at some point in the next week, maybe 2 weeks, we do see another move back down below $100,000. Again, just below $98,000 is a major area of interest. Then 96, and then perhaps around 88 to 90ish region are my two major areas of interest there. But keep in mind, with the monthly closing relatively soon, as of right now, the monthly on the HPDR is this would be interpreted as a rejection of the 38.2 level. I'll just put it bluntly, I don't look at that as a good thing if you want to be bullish. But again, few more days, or at least another week left in this month of June to go. So we shall see. We shall see indeed. Anyways, I think that's good enough for today. Like I said, I will actually be posting a video later with Big Cheds. We'll be talking about more like, higher term time frame stuff. I think that'll be fun. Or at least I really had fun talking with him. He's a funny motherfucker. Actually, he's a really funny motherfucker. But yeah, in the short term, Bitcoin, let it bounce a little bit, let it go sideways, let it bore you the fuck out. And while everyone's calling for 200,000 or 20,000, or whatever the hell those targets are going to be, Bitcoin probably not going to do all that much, I suspect, at least in the very, very short term. Maybe we get a move around the end of this week, perhaps, or early next week, but only time shall tell. And I will sign off on that note. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.